Hello. Okay, y'all tell me something.
Something not happening right.
All right, let's start the show because I think we are live.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We're waiting for the introduction, right? I'm waiting for the introduction. I'm all quiet. I'm like, what happened to our introduction? Where's our introduction?
That's what happens when we get left alone, man.
I'm telling you, I don't know where Crystal is, but you know what? We're going to make it.
Crystal, that's her name. Okay.
Hey, we are live and welcome to Financial Sins. Hey, man, Flo, what's going on today?
Everything. We're learning a new part of this we're learning what you call it, behind the scenes. So we're learning how to do things behind the scenes. I think we're doing a great job too. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
They just leave us like this, but hey, we're gonna make something happen today. This is Mad Flow, and guys, you are on Financial Sense. We're here every Friday, 1 p.m. Looking for you to be here and be part of our conversation because this show is geared towards you and what you're looking for. Questions that we can answer in reference to your financial, um, increasing your financial knowledge. I'm Mad Flo, been around for with this business called World Financial Group, World System Builder, since 2013. And what we do, we financially educate people because we know that's the key to financial strength and financial knowledge is getting that education. I have two great guests here today, and like Tanya can't stop laughing because of what's happening behind the scenes. We have Tanya Scott Pilcher. She's going to introduce herself to you in a minute. We have Anthony Murray here. He's going to introduce himself. We have a great guest today, Manny Henson, and he's going to come on in a few minutes. And we're going to let him introduce himself to you guys as well. So let's start with giggling Tanya. She can't stop laughing. Go ahead, Tanya. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I know. It's like when you're used to doing something all the time and then it just kind of messes up. You just can't do anything but laugh about it. It's no big deal. My name is Tanya Scott Pilcher. I am a licensed insurance agent. And what I do as a part of this business is I help people get involved in this $1 trillion industry by preparing them for the insurance exam. My business is called Get Skills, and I am so excited that in the last 2 months, we have turned on 15 people into a world of financial freedom. And we have another class that will be ending this week and starting up another one at the end of August. So it is booming. People, this is the way to go. Financially free yourself by getting into the insurance industry. I am excited today about our topic. And so I'm going to let Anthony go ahead and introduce himself and bring on our guests because we got some important topics about aging.
Wow. Yeah, as y'all saw, we were having one of those blooper moments. that is the opening of our show today. It's every show has bloopers, right? Maybe one of these days we'll put together all of our bloopers and show y'all. But nevertheless, I'm Anthony Murray. I am a financial literacy instructor, teacher, learning how to help people in this industry, the finance industry. I love it. I love helping people. I love helping people come out of financial ignorance. I love helping people um, get out of financial slavery. You know, even the scripture tells us, whoever you owe, you're a slave to them. You're indebted to them. You may say, hey, slavery's ended. Has it really? Look at it. Look at it. Think about it for a moment. So we have somebody today that's going to help us really understand um, a lot of different things. And one of the main areas he's going to cover that I look forward to because it affects my generation. You know, Tanya's too young to understand. So,
Nah.
oh, she said, She said, All right, all right. Um, but Flo is going to introduce this young man, and he was suggested to us by the curator or the gentleman who put together all things relevant media, and so we look forward to having this young man on here today. Flo, why don't you? Well, didn't tell y'all anything about me. You don't need to know anything about me. You already know me. You already know me. All right. You just know me already. Y'all feel free. We're gonna run our name. I think if those ladies know what they're doing, they're gonna run our names eventually across the bottom of the screen. But we have this gentleman, and just listening to him for a few moments, man, um, this man is a wealth of information. So, Flo, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about him, and then let's bring him on.
All right, I'm just give a little bit about Manny, and then I'm going to bring him on, and he's going to finish his introduction bio on himself. But Manny has spent the last 15 years at 4 Fortune 500 companies, helping thousands of mass affluent and high net worth across the country meet their long-term financial planning needs. While starting as a para planner, Manny gained a deep understanding of the power behind proper financial planning and its impact on helping families meet their long-term goal. As a retirement plan consultant, he helps small to large for and nonprofit and non-for-profit businesses define and implement appropriate retirement plan designs to incentivize, retain, and grow their workforce. He has worked with clients between the ages of 18 and 80, those who were traders, those who were happy enough to remember their passwords, and everywhere in between. So I'm going to let Mr. Manny Henson finish his bio. So I'm going to bring him in right now. Manny, join the conversation.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Happy Friday to everybody. I know everyone's probably getting ready for a good weekend, and so glad to be here. Uh, that was a great introduction. I wouldn't have said any better, but I'm glad to just be a part of this. And right today, I really want to talk on it. We could talk about a lot of different subjects, but I would love to talk about aging and some of the things I'm seeing more often. And given it, a lot of people are taking vacation these days, you have multiple generations getting together, whether you're going to Disney or you're going to the shore. This is a perfect time to have some of these things we're going to talk about be digested and kind of think about what is important to you for your family and your independence. So yeah, I'm glad to be able to talk to you all about that today.
And man, to start off, I read in here, from age 18 to 80. Curious
Right.
question. Why at 18? Is it because they can legally sign off or anything? Or is there a certain reason you start at 18 and go all the way up to, the older people get?
Yeah, so a lot of what I talk about is things that as an 18-year-old, most 18-year-olds aren't even really thinking about. If you're younger, like I was younger, I started talking about and thinking about investing when I was about 14, 15. I don't look it, but I have a high schooler now, and so I've been
Okay.
blessed in that time has been good to me, but I'm realistic, I know a lot of people who are 14. I have a 14-year-old or 15-year-old.
I do too.
Yeah, they're not even thinking about this stuff, but their parents are, and their grandparents are.
And I see that you've earned a certified financial planning. Can you go a little bit detail as to explain to people what a CFP does, and why would they need one?
Yeah.
My granddaughters want to give me cookies.
Yeah. So a certified financial planning designation is a designation that's been around since 1980. It is conferred upon those who have their education, experience, and ethics in examination passed. And so there's a rigorous process that I went through, bottom line is I invested in understanding retirement planning, tax planning, investment planning, estate planning, and how these topics integrate with each other. And so I'm broadly focused on what people are trying to get to, and then we work through in the process to kind of get them there and wherever they are. So it's something that I've had for a while, and I'm excited to be able to bring these concepts to most people.
Okay, so any and
Yeah.
everybody from 18, 80 and older can use the can use your services, is what you said.
Yes, and I'm strategically defined as an XY generation type of platform, and that I noticed that in my career, I've worked with a lot of high net worth clients. There's a point in time you had to have $1 million to talk to me, and I didn't recognize that. I recognized also there was a whole bunch of people that were underserved. Like a lot of people didn't have the luxury of going through a marathon and getting to the end and saying, "Hey, I need help now." They needed help way before and during the race. And so my firm, Gamma Wealth Management, we have clients in 5 different states, but we're headquartered in Maryland, in Towson, which is a suburb of Baltimore. We focus on getting that next generation of people on track and expanding, the access that is, I think, a big problem in this industry right now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And I do have another question. No, I'm the question person.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. That's the bottom line, because I am in financial industry myself. And if I ever wanted to basically become, obtain the certifications you have right now, what steps would I have to do in order to make that happen? In case there's anyone out there who wants to say change their careers or start in the financial industry, what steps did you have to take in order to get where you are now with the titles that you have?
Yeah. So the 4 E's. The first one is experience. You had to have at least 3 years. At least when I was doing it, you had to have at least 3 years. Now you can do it with 2 years in an apprenticeship under another certified financial planner. I had to have education. I have a bachelor's in finance. You had to have the examination part, and the examination was 6 individual modules:
Wow.
retirement planning, tax planning, general planning, estate planning, and employee benefits. And so you had to learn those different subjects. And then I did a 10-hour, 10-day comprehensive.
So do you have to have a life license in order to do that as well, or you don't have to have a life license?
No, actually, that's separate. And so a lot of insurance agencies, we call it examiners in multiple states. If you get the CFP, you don't have to take the test for the insurance exam. So there's a number of benefits of going straight at the CFP mark, and that a lot of the regulators look at that as meeting the testing requirement for the other designations. So right now I've also registered investment advisory representative license. So I'm licensed to give investment advice to clients and manage money. And so that I do that in by virtue of having the CFP. I'd already passed this which is called Series 66 before Series 7, but by having the CFP, that would trump the necessary testing requirements for those other designations and in those other licenses.
Well, Manny, part of our conversation today is going to be in reference to all of us aging, and COVID has affected most of our income some way or another. And so,
hold on, wait a minute, Tony, wait a minute. Did you say one of us is aging?
All of us.
Oh, I thought you said one of us. I thought you was throwing off on me. It's like he's aging or something. Okay, go ahead.
You keep living. You aging.
Well, you got more great than we have.
Shoot. So as all of us are aging, and we've had so much to happen during the COVID time. I know that I took some money from my 401k during this period, and then I've heard other people have done so, or they've the only people that have kind of been safe are those that were on a fixed income with retirement. So I am approaching that age where, I still have money in the 401k. I just kind of want to know, what should I do with it? Should I let it stay, let it ride? Or, now that I'm getting into being self-employed, going into the self-employed market, just kind of want to know what should I be doing at this time?
Oh wow, there's so many different things that you need to consider around this point in time. One is I would say get it down on paper, right? Get a plan on forecasting what your income is going to be at different times, and so that'll help you answer that question about when is it a time the appropriate to draw down how much risk or dial down how much risk you're taking in your 401k, when to file for Social Security, when is the right time, not doing it at 62. Um, can have your Social Security rise by 8% for a few years, and then 6% thereafter, is all the way up to age 70. So, thinking about it like strategically, or how much money do I need to live the lifestyle I want in retirement? Work backwards from there. How much is Social Security and my pension going to cover? And then after that, how much am I going to be able to draw down from my 401k and have this last 30 years? In multiple environments, up or down, sideways markets. And right now we're at the all-time highs. It's not a bad time, like you mentioned. Like if you're a retiree or close to it, you've seen some of the benefits of that. The market's up about over 100%, close to 100% from the lows of March and April of last year with the pandemic. So I mean, there is something you can do, and the first thing is just plan. You have a clear idea of what that looks like for you.
Is there ever a time that's too late? I mean, because I know that when my mom and dad retired, they didn't even talk about it,
Yeah.
whether or not they would have enough or not have enough. And then my father passed away. And so, I help a little bit with my mom, but I mean, she is okay, but she will probably be here till 90. I don't know if her money's going to last that long. I haven't even asked. Uh-oh.
No, you're absolutely you're absolutely right. It's sometimes it's hard, right? If you're in insurance business, you probably know this already. If you have running quotes for people who are looking at long-term care options, right? Because if you're in your 70s and 80s, Medicare is only going to cover a certain amount of time that you're in a long-term care facility, and if you have enough money, they might force you to spend down that money to take care of you if someone else can't take care of you yourself. And so the earlier the better. It's going to cost you more to ensure that risk that you will live long, the longer you wait, and you kind of look at that. So I would say 40s and 50s is a perfect time to really start talking about long-term care needs. But if you can do it a little bit earlier, I've seen people.
It's even better.
Yeah. So I've seen people go as early as 30s and kind of lock down their long-term strategy.
Yes.
They say a baby born today, 50% of the babies born today are going to live to 100. 50%.
Wow.
So
wow.
So
they really need to think about that. The other thing, you said something about people planning. But as Tanya was asking the questions, one of the things you said that people need to do is plan. How would they plan? What would you say they need to do to plan for the future? What are some of the things that they could do or that you suggest?
So first thing first is know what you have and what you spend and what you owe. Bottom line is, and I've done retirement consults with people, thousands of people, and I'd be surprised at how many people are saying, "Hey, yeah, I want to retire next year," and they're like, I was okay, great. What have you done to kind of get yourself there? Nothing. Sign up this meeting. And I get it. It's being proactive is step one. Is figuring out, all right, based on how much I need want to get from Social Security and my pension, how much do I need to make up from that difference, and then really writing it down, because it's a lot of moving parts.
Now to
Get
come
a
see
Social
you.
Security estimate. Make sure you have a Social Security estimate. Make sure it's accurate. If you're a woman, you got married, make sure your earnings history is accurate and it covers the time that you weren't married. If you were separated, if you're divorced, you know how much money they earned, and that you have an idea of who would be greater, whether or not they have based on claiming on their Social Security earnings income, whether or not it's greater than 50% of what your current is. And so, like, understand understand how all these elements kind of play a role in how you're going to, go to the supermarket when you're 65, before you're 65 is important.
All right. Now, to come to you, say, as a client, what information would you need from me or any client that you're getting to come to you? What information you need for the first consultation? If I wanted to come to you as
Yeah.
a client
Mhm.
tomorrow, set up an appointment with you tomorrow, what information you need to have from me in order to help me plan for my financial plan in the future?
Really, it's just an open mind, and then just the idea that uh, I have an interest and willingness to talk and move out of your comfort zone. I think a big part of this is in our community is having a willingness to talk. And we were talking about this before the shows. Is I'm a financial planner, and my dad. I have a good relationship with my dad. I don't know how much he earns, and it's interesting that because we talk about with our children, all the things to keep yourself safe, and all these great things about about being, having a spiritual life, or and also having, having it being enterprising and working hard, but we don't talk about the finances. So being willing to be opening about the truth of your situation is going to help me figure out whether or not anything's what we're going to need to get you to where you want to be. And so I have all the questionnaires and all the things to kind of gather the data about where you are, and that's something I work with people along the way. But that first initial conversation is just really about understanding your values, understanding where you want to be, and what are your challenges.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, so our audience is just kind of listening. So, can you give us some examples or things that have happened to people, or maybe even in your own family, that
Mhm.
so that they can understand exactly what they need to do or begin to plan for?
Mhm.
Yes, yes. So let me tell you a little story about what's going on in our community right now. So piggyback on that same strength, the idea that we don't talk about things, we don't talk about finances, and so for people of a certain generation, baby boomers and their parents, we were a one person household, right? As a woman, you can get discriminated against legally up into the 70s for buying your own home and getting a mortgage. And so what I've seen in a lot of cases is husband, worked really really hard. He was on all the bills. He was on a title by himself for the home. And both of you are working. Maybe both of you are working still, and you're paying into it. Husband, passes away because women, live a lot longer than men, and then they get something in the mail saying, "Okay, we're foreclosing and we're going after your state." And you're like, "Wait a minute. Well, I live here. I lived here and I paid towards my mortgage. How is this the case?" Well, in most states, if your husband, your spouse owes something that maybe you didn't even talk about and dies,
Mhm.
they are in front of you if you're not on the title, right? So talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents. Say just soft and comfortable way. A lot of people are going to spend time with their family during the last weeks of the summer, right before they go back to school. You think about your values, thinking about some of the things that they're important to you in your legacy you want to leave, and don't leave that burden. I've heard of specifically in my close circle of at least two cases where wife survivor, all right, she could have, if she owned the home, even if they didn't have any income, they could have at least had bankruptcy. They could have done a number of things to stay in their home, and they're both without a spouse and without a house to live in.
Oh
And so,
man.
that especially in our community where being a man meant, paying for everything and owning everything, taking care of all the finances, taking care of everything. We got to open up and we got to really start talking about it, and because it's a big issue as people get older. People are going to lose homes, generational homes, um,
So
because
when you say
they
our
don't.
community, you're talking about the black community?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Hmm.
something that everybody needs to worry about, but more so, we don't talk about. You talk about billionaires dying, and you see in other communities that they have an idea, they have a trust, or they have a charity that money goes to, and you have like DMX, or you have like people recently in the last years. Think about how many times there's been these fights. Michael Jackson fights about estate planning, and it's just it's not a money issue. I think it's a cultural issue more so than anything,
Sure.
that shows in that regardless of where you are, whether you're basketball player that's making millions and millions of dollars, or you have children and you care about who's going to take care of them if both of you and your spouse pass away at the same time. These conversations aren't conversations that we're having, and we need to start having.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely, absolutely 110%, 20% correct. In the African American community, in the Black community, in the what else do we call ourselves? In the colored community, in the Black folk community, um, in Usum folk community, this is a conversation that we don't have, not that often. I just took out an insurance policy that encompasses a will in
Mhm.
it, built in it, and I said I got my family together and began to talk to them about it, and I said I gave them all a card with the phone number on there. I said,
Mhm.
when if I go before you, you just call this number and let them know that I passed away. They're going to send you the death benefit. So, and I'm gonna make all the arrangements ahead of time. And so, their face is just like,
Yeah.
huh? But this is something that, um, yeah, nobody wants to die, especially like now. I ain't dying
Right.
right now. But the fact remains, we know our birth date,
Yeah.
but we don't know our death date.
No.
And,
All right. So I know my birth date, but if you know your death date, you're doing good. So I mention that because we have to help our families get over the initial shock.
right.
Sure, it's still going to hurt. There's going to be pain. All
Hmm.
right, when that transition happens, but it's just like you said, we're not planning for it. We need to plan. This is something that's extremely important. And the aging community of baby boomers,
Hmm.
I was talking with someone, it was either my wife or my brother, I forget now, last week, and they heard or read something where there's like literally thousands, hundreds,
Yeah.
or 50 or whatever astronomical number of baby boomers that actually retired in the last couple of months. And I'm like,
10,000 a month. 10,000 a
yeah,
month.
10,000 a month. And I'm like,
Till
oh my
2050.
goodness. And as I spoke to a lot of or a variety of baby boomers, you know, the bulk of them aren't ready. I was talking with the gentleman not long ago. He's in his mid 60s. He has a 401k, but that's it. Now, and I posed a question to those of you that have your 401k. I think they're good, but just two things that you don't know. You don't know what tax bracket you're going to fall into when you start using that money. That's the first thing. The second thing you don't know is if you're going to outlive that money or if that money's going to outlive you. So
Yeah.
that's part of the planning that we really need to take into consideration. What can we do? All right. My daughter got with a financial planner at age 25. She told him she wanted to have at least 1.5 million at 50. Tell me what I need to do now. So far at 28, she has stuck to that plan and is actually ahead.
Wow.
All right.
Right.
Manny, you see that one?
Yeah. So I mean, if it works, then continue to do what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, markets have been very, very well. I think what you want to make sure is that they're ahead of any kind of challenges. You're getting conversations with them consistently. They're not just um, saying they're going to call you back and not call you back. They're not just trying to sell you some other product that doesn't fit their needs. And so, like, if they're doing well, I mean, I don't want to say um, there's a problem. You should try to make a new problem. um, Yeah. So
And,
that's
and he said that, she had to tell me what to do financially because he didn't have the conversation with his dad. And most of
Mhm.
us don't. We don't have the conversations with our parents in reference to what we ought to do financially. They haven't schooled us.
yeah.
And then, I'm looking at myself. I have two children, and I really haven't. I've only talked to them about, saving,
Yeah.
um, getting a good job or having, your income and what you should do. But as far as getting them prepared right now financially while they have that money coming in because they're still all in the house, I mean, they really could begin to put some things away and become financially wealthy by the time they get to retirement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also seeing another theme too, and it's really specific to government employees, people who worked in the government for a very, very long time. I think everybody has an uncle that was in the Navy or in the Air Force or something like that,
Right.
and working for the government was a really, really common thing. And so you had a pension and you worked for 30, 40 years, and at the end you got a paycheck. And
Right.
the idea was that that should be enough, and it's not. And so one thing that I recently experienced in the last job is it just convinced me that I'm going to work in this niche in the government sector. Is that my grandfather was a Philadelphia police detective, retired. Uh, he also retired out of the Navy before that. And my grandmother was a post office manager for 35 years. And 2 weeks after I graduated from college, she passed away. Um, and so I was tasked with settling her estate, and settling an estate. If you haven't had to have the problem, the emotions of going to bury a parent and paying the funeral expenses and going through that process, it's something that you never forget. And so I went through that process, and it's just a memorial of all the things that she experienced in the last 30, 40 years. And I call it TSP office because she worked during the longest bull market in existence. And I'm like, are you sure she didn't have a TSP? You sure she didn't have a governmental 401k, which is pretty much what a TSP is like, and for those who are not familiar with TSP. And he said no. And so what I recognize is in 1974, after Bethlehem Steel went under, the laws got put in place that if you're a sponsor of an employer plan, you have to do certain things. You have to make sure that the investments are right. You have to make sure that people will know that they have a retirement plan, that you can't commingle funds and all these other protections. But they made one exemption, and that exemption is government employees. Education requirements are required. You can sue your employer if you work at McDonald's and they don't tell you that there's a match, and you can prove it. You can sue your employer if you're in the private sector, and you can prove that they didn't educate you, or that your fees, or your funds are too expensive. That doesn't apply to the government sector. So I went and talked to many people, professors all across my state in my last role, and in other situations that kind of came to me and said, "Look, I ran into multiple people, especially in our community and in the areas. In my territory, I used to service at HBCU, and they're like, I went to my manager and they said it didn't, maybe didn't exist, or no one told me about it. And so we're over employed in the government sector, and so we have this idea that we're going to lower. Perhaps some states are allowing you to tax pensions, and so you have to have an idea that the pension is great, Social Security is great. You need a third leg of your stool. You need to save. You need to be more proactive because no one's going to force you to do it, and it's more prominent in the government sector.
You know what? That is very valuable. What you said, save, because
Yeah.
our society teaches just the opposite. Our society encourages just the opposite.
Spend.
Um, huh?
To spend, yes.
Yeah, our society teaches, hey, you got $5, bring it over here and buy something.
Yeah.
Don't take 50 cents out of that five or a dollar out of that five and put it up and save it for a rainy day. Most Americans don't have $500 available for an emergency.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just a simple 500. Most Americans don't, and
Definitely those of us
that's
in the Black community.
Yeah.
huh?
And definitely those of us in the Black community.
Definitely those of us in our
And
community.
you can't beat
You
it.
know,
You can't beat each other up too. And that's another thing you got to consider is like I have clients who look at 4 generations. They're making millions of dollars in their business and they're doing well. They're doing all right. And then we also have our community when we do well. What do we do when we do well?
We spend.
No, and we also take care of each other too.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, maybe.
So part of it is like
Oh yeah.
part of it's a circumstance, and
Yeah,
we're about taking care of family in the first, and
right.
maybe some of us are raising our nephews or nieces, and we're trying to juggle a lot of things, and we just try to. I would say also just it's modest change. It's small changes. It doesn't have to be dramatic changes. So
Right.
maybe 1 year you never went and you never talked to you about your 401k, but you put $5 in
Yeah.
paycheck, or
Yeah.
and then the next year you go, I'm all right. I'm going to double that. I'm going to go $10. I got a raise. I'm going to bucket half my raise. I'm going to take some for me so I can enjoy it. So the idea of savings doesn't feel like a emotional like horrible thing because it's all about emotions too, right? It's a
That's
lot of
right.
it is emotionals. And so I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna pay myself first, and when I get those raises, I'm gonna put a little bit more aside to my 401k. I'm also gonna put a little bit more aside for me.
Well,
Uh,
you know what? You bring up such a valid point. That's why 401ks are so popular because it comes out of the check
you don't
and the
see it.
people pay no attention, and it's gone. They get used to seeing that deducted amount, that final figure, because the taxes and everything taken out and the 401k money's taken out. All right. Did you guys realize that there's banks today that would do the same thing for you? And you can take that money and have it put into whatever type of there's pre-taxed insurance accounts that's available. Well, one of the things that's valuable about the pre-taxed accounts is that uh, you don't have to worry about 20 years, 30 years from now, what tax bracket am I going to fall into? All right. But when you have a 401k or Roth, let's talk
Yeah.
about Roths. People
Yes.
who have a Roth versus a 401k
Mhm.
versus a annuity, IRA.
Right. Yes. So that's a big deal. So I tell a lot of the young people, if you have a lot of time on your hands, if you pay $5 on $100, contribution to your retirement plan, it's not going to make a big difference. So pay it now. So that's what that Roth option is. And so you put money in, just as you said, you put money in, you pay your taxes on the way in, and then in retirement, you never have to pay taxes again. I've
Mhm.
helped people on both sides of that, and I've you, it's hard to describe the face of people when they were calling me up and they're saying, "Okay, I got to get a new car in retirement. I need to get $15,000 out." I said, "Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and withhold 37% of that." And so I'll work the numbers, and they're like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Yes. Well, you never paid taxes on this money. We're gonna, now we're gonna pay. You're gonna be paying taxes on it now." And so, if they had other options available, that would be something that uh, they would have loved to have known. I think the 401k, a Roth 401k, wasn't available until 2005. The Roth
Right.
IRA was available a little bit sooner to that. But if you have that
Mhm.
available and you're young and you're in a lower tax bracket, before tax brackets go up in 2025, I would strongly consider adding money to it if you can.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the planning again.
Yeah.
One of the first, let's go to step one. Step one.
Yeah.
First thing a person needs to do is what?
So I would look at finding a
And I know
financial.
we're being redundant. I know
No,
we're
yeah,
being
yeah.
redundant, but I think it's important.
Yes. So I would figure out what is it that you need. Do you need um, a 401k? You want advice on money going in? Is it investment management that's more important to you? Is it holistic planning that's more important to you. So there's two subjects, two categories of planners. There's fee-based planners and there's fee-only planners. So fee-based planners get compensated from the products that they sell, and that's fine for me, right? Because I know when I go to my insurance broker and I was getting a quote for a whole life policy for, my youngest, I knew exactly what I was going to get, and he's going to give me advice around insurance planning. And he's going to get compensated in some kind of way or any kind of guidance that he gives me, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to figure out what is it you need to address, you go to what's called a fee-only planner. There's a couple sites that you can go to. There's Quad A, which is African Americans Associations of Financial Advisors. They have a great site, a search tool where you can find financial planners, African American planners as well, through that site. There's NAFA, which is the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, of which only serve fee-only financial planners. And so those fee-only financial planners, what you find out, you research them, find out what their niche is, what their focus is, and work to maybe interview 2 or 3, and then make a decision on who you want to work with.
Man, that's powerful. That's powerful stuff. Tanya, looked like you were itching to say something.
No, you said step
I'm a
one.
member of both of those organizations, by the way, NAPA,
Okay.
And I'm a fee-only advisor, so I don't get compensated from any of the products that I sell. You pay me a flat fee, either subscription, month to month, or quarter to quarter, kind of a pay-as-you-go, like a Netflix for financial planning.
Netflix for finance. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, you said first, you gave us step one, and then now I want to look at step one for those people that are in their 50s and have not, and they're looking at retirement at 65 or 70, 72, and they really haven't done very much.
Mhm.
What's step one?
Step one is you want to look at your assets and liabilities. Figure out where's money coming in, and where's your assets, where they are. What are you spending? What are you earning? What is that doing to your balance sheet, quarter after quarter, year after year? And so for some of us, that may mean cutting back, so that you can have some money to save and invest. If you have a tight budget. Others, that may mean that you probably want to scale down or get a better asset, so there's a better growth, or reduce your liabilities, which I'm a fan of. If you have 15,000 in credit card debt, investing in the market is the worst thing you can do, because you can guarantee to increase your net worth, addition through subtraction, by paying off your credit cards. And before you invest. So I always take it back there first, because people have this expectation that, they're going to go, the first decision to do is find a great investment. No, figure out where you are now, and
That's right.
from your net worth basis, net being assets minus your liabilities, how do you create that net worth growth? And that may mean increasing assets, but it also might mean reducing liabilities. And so I think most people spend 105% of what they make every year.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to put away $100 and move the needle. You really got to look at where you are now, currently foundational. What are those behaviors that are contributing to your balance sheet issues? Because I think that's the biggest issue. If you're in your 50s, I think you recognize that you want to retire at some point, but there's usually something that's stopping you from doing that. It's something that's maybe there's just we have a money story from our childhood, something that it's kind of feeding back to our not getting our emotional needs met without spending. And so I kind of go into, like, what are those things that we need to focus on first? And then the investment side is easy. I invest and I manage money. I've always managed money. That's a fun part for me, but that's the easy part.
So most people in our community, they buy their starter home, and then somewhere around 50, They buy their big home.
Yeah.
And they're rolling into retirement with this big mortgage.
Okay.
And they haven't paid attention to, yes, when I retire, my mortgage is $2,000 and my retirement money is only at $3,500.
Yeah.
So they really haven't done well, the house is the asset or could be the asset, but they still don't have the liquid asset,
Right.
and that's where our community is kind of, I don't want to use the word backwards, but other than, yeah.
All right, I'll use it backwards.
Right. So
I mean,
I'm
it's
probably going to
true.
ruffle some feathers here when I say
Go
this,
ahead.
but I think you need to compare renting versus owning 5% of a home.
Only
And
5%
understand
of
it.
what?
Owning
Oh.
5% of a home, right? You can walk into a home with 5% down, right? And
Mhm.
so, you look at the last crisis, and you look at research, Brookings Institute, um, the most of the wealth that we lost in the last recession was real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so we have to reduce our fixation with the idea that everyone needs the biggest home and needs this. And it has to we have to work on that on an emotional basis because we understand it. It's tangible. We understand the value of having a roof over your head. But looking at it as a lifestyle asset, but not an asset unless you're talking about a real estate property that you're renting out to someone else or you're really that's different. But look at your home as a lifestyle asset that helps you save. If it truly does help you save, look at the numbers. Don't look at just
Right.
the interest rate. And for someone who's already made that decision, they're already in home. To go back to your original question, think about refinancing. Right, for every 1% less in your interest rate for $100,000, that's an extra $100 in your budget. So if you have a $300,000 home and you reduce your interest rate by 2%, that's an extra $600 in your budget every month. You can go ahead and you can put towards something else. Look at perhaps downsizing, or paying, if you have extra money, paying weekly instead of paying monthly, and then adding a little bit whenever you can towards your mortgage payments.
Right.
But yeah, first step is solidifying yourself in your career. With younger people, skills outweigh anything. It outweighs any of the things that I can tell you. Um, Once you get a certain level of income, it gets easier over time. Save 15%. Try to get towards 15%, and focus on your budget. I think that's going to drive the success.
Right.
Yeah, of any kind of plan.
Hey, I just want to make a statement. When you said in reference to paying extra on your mortgage in order to bring down your principal quicker and pay it off quicker.
Yeah.
But I also want people to realize when you paying extra on your mortgage, you have to designate where that money is going to go. You want to go towards the principal. If you don't designate, you just send an extra money in. They're actually going to hold that money. They're not going to put it towards your principal. They're just going to hold it. And then you go check and you see all this extra money you have here. Why is this money here? They were not putting it towards your principal because you did not designate where you wanted that money to go. It can go towards your principal. It can go towards your escrow. So you have to make sure that you designate any extra money where you want that money to go.
That's a good point. Yes, especially for my younger people who don't know, don't use checks. Go ahead, get your checks, write some things out. So that's a situation where you're gonna have to put some things in the mail, perhaps, and
You see what Norm put up just then, Manny?
Yeah, and one that I could pay the mortgage with what I have in retirement fund, refinance twice to lower mortgage, gain more money in the hand. You're right. There's it's certainly some tax benefits, Norm, to owning a home if it's right for you. Kick the tires. Build in the fact that you're paying property taxes. Build in the fact if you're younger in your early career, you're not going to have the same mobility. I had a lot of people that I knew um, earlier in my career that was during the Great Recession buying homes, and that's great for every but then they got opportunities, job opportunities, in places they couldn't go. So there's benefits, pros and cons of each, and then that mortgage is due. That's where you live. It's kind of hard on a fixed income to carry it in retirement, and so I've seen it done. People do it, but I would try to pay it down,
Hey,
get it down right before you get to go into retirement.
now this is totally off subject, but when my friends buy these houses and they have that upstairs, and they got their master bedroom upstairs, I'm always
Mhm.
telling them, y'all need another house, Eventually, you're going to be 60, 65 years old, and you can't climb them steps like you used to.
Walking up the stairs not going to help.
You have a house that got a bedroom on the first floor. Don't be moving upstairs when you go into that big house. I said it was totally off subject. But
No, that's good, and also, you know, talking about where you live, which state you live in too is certainly
yes,
important, right? So Washington, Texas, um, Florida. Everybody talks about going to Florida when they selling their home. That's the idea, right? You're going to sell your home. You're going to move to Florida, and then life is good, right? That's the route. That could be Pennsylvania too. Yeah, Pennsylvania doesn't tax retirement
they don't tax. Yeah.
distributions. And so there's looking at where you live can make a big decision. And healthcare costs. The healthcare cost is going to be like your mortgage when you're in retirement. Understand that you're going to get rid of your mortgage. If you want to get rid of your mortgage, that's fine. But because of people are living longer and they're living sicker, your healthcare or medicine fees could be as much as your mortgage was.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
And people don't have long-term care. So
Long-term care
without
is
that,
not-
then grandma them or mama them going to be living in your living room because you don't have any long-term care in order to take care of your family member or yourself.
Great.
So that is one serious thing that most people aren't looking at, and they should be looking at it, now. Even at 50, if they purchase it, they still would win in getting a long-term care policy because it's going to be less expensive. So once you get 65 and get long-term care, then you're going to be paying monthly. My husband and I have a long-term care policy that we pay quarterly.
Yeah.
And it's only $100 and some odd dollars every, 3 or 4 months, whatever the quarter is set up on. And so my mom's long-term care policy is at $156 a month. But guess what? It's better than $800 a week if she got sick, right?
Yes.
So it's something that we really, truly need to have ahead of time because it's going to pay off in the long run because hospital care and health care is going to take our retirement away.
Yes.
And I've seen that do that to people right now to this day.
Yes, and so there's so many different ways you can think about it right now. If you're further away from your family, they don't, and you maybe you want to move or get care. You can get care in your home with some of these long-term care policies. You might even be able to get care from someone who's a close relative. So there's a lot of products that are out there. There's the key here is. You're going to probably pay between $10,000 and $20,000 a month for about you could expect about 3 years, 2 to 3 years in at some point in time in your retirement. Especially, if you're a woman, that's a higher cost, more likely to be living longer. So you can self-insure, meaning you just spend down all your assets and hope that Medicaid pays for something, or you transfer money to your children and they gift you, money back. That's one strategy. If you have really good kids, I don't know, like you want to trust your strategy on your kids.
Right,
I have 2 daughters. Daughters are usually more likely to take care of their, older parents. If you have sons, then best of luck because they usually to get married and move away or something like that. That's a common thing.
I wanted to see if we could answer James' question here.
So what is your thoughts on opportunity costs you may miss by tying up your money in the house rather than using the bank's money and investing additional? Um, that's become more of a reality after 2008. Showed that there's limits to how much you can borrow against your home, and housing prices don't always go up all the time.
That's
Um,
right.
but
They up
that's what I
now.
said. So it's a lifestyle asset. You get it for lifestyle, and you have some tax benefits. Uh, you make sure you have solid income, stability. Um, have multiple income sources. You never know, and if you I, a part of my segmentation is I have clients who have their investment managed. I have clients who don't have their investment managed. Maybe they have the 401k somewhere else. They can't get me to manage their 401k, but they want my advice, my investment recommendations. And then I have a tier below that, it's essentials. And so I have clients who are going through the process of buying a home. So I want to help them figure out what's in their budget. You're not hearing that from their bank or their mortgage broker. They're hearing it from me, who's independent. And so um, if you're thinking about buying home and doing the cost benefit analysis on a personal level, that's what you got to look at. You got to look at everything, your area. In the South is a lot cheaper to live and buy a home, so you might makes a lot more sense there. Or if turnover and consolidations in your industry. I'm in finance. I've had companies get bought out, multiple companies get bought out that I've worked with, and so being mobile is a little bit more of a benefit, and I can also live wherever I work. Um, so yeah, you got to look at the opportunity costs.
Mm.
Historical rates of returns from business enterprises around 8% year over year, or you can invest in a business and and not have your money tied up. You can buy real estate investment trust if you want to buy in real estate, so you can buy shares of real estate instead of having all your money in a physical property that's one property to diversify. I mean, there's a number of different ways you can invest in real estate. You can invest with the intention to have some growth in your money that you can understand. It doesn't involve, you know, being house poor.
I,
It's
I
great for
heard
some
you
people.
say,
It's great for some people. We gotta just be careful, more conscientious that your lender is not necessarily on the side of you when it comes to helping
that's
you figure
right.
out how much money you can buy. And because we lost a lot of money, you know, in the last recession because people were buying homes that they couldn't afford.
Yeah.
Well, this
Look,
is this
I
is
sold real estate.
right now.
Yeah,
They got you can buy houses are way up. People
mhm,
are buying, selling. All of
yeah,
that is going well right now.
yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know how long that's going to last, but it's been going well.
Well,
But
Yeah,
one of
this
the
make sure you
things
have a
that,
good disability. Make sure you have a disability policy that
mhm.
covers your rent, or your mortgage, and you have a solid plan on where you're going to pay for repairs in your property taxes. So that's the things you want to kind of think about.
well, I
You
just
know
looked
what?
at your information, Manny. I hope all of this
Yeah.
is right. Uh,
Yep, that's right.
Okay, great. And so if you all want to reach out and talk with him in reference to getting your finances in order, please do.
Yeah.
We thank you so much for being with us today and providing some
This was
valuable
fun. This
information.
was great. This is a
Yeah.
great
That,
conversation.
Tanya, why are you trying to rush this man off?
Because I
Why are
think
you trying to rush him off? Yeah, we still got a minute.
We've got
We
two
got
minutes. We've got 2 minutes, and what we're
what?
going to do is we're going to give Manny 30 seconds of that 2 minutes. Any last comments? Any last good advice, tips, anything? But before we do that, I want y'all to realize that baby boomers are
Mhm.
those who were born between 1946 1964. So anybody out there that needs to know if they're a baby boomer. But 30 seconds, Manny, and then we really going to have to close the show because we got like 30 seconds
thank
All
left.
right,
you.
I'll say it. So
Go
I want to say thank you for allowing me to kind of take a couple of minutes out of your day to share some of my thoughts on these issues. You can get back a lot of different things, but you can't get back your time. So I really do appreciate that. I'm here to help. I'm a financial planner, but I operate in Maryland and virtually. And so if anyone has any questions about how these estate planning and aging factors impact their lives, I'm here to help. Also an investment manager, so I manage money. And so, yeah, if anybody's interested in having a dialogue about what we can do, you have our website, and you can always feel free to email me.
All right.
Well, great. And listen, we're going to have this young man come back because we need to talk about a few things he brought up: real estate trusts, disability policies that cover your mortgage or your rent. Then we want to also talk about reverse mortgage. What your thoughts on that?
Yes.
These are all things that's affecting those that are baby boomers and beyond, or coming into the age of I want to retire early. We want to thank you guys for being with us today. And listen, like us on Facebook. Just press that like button until your finger get tired. Call somebody up, tell them about the show because it's recorded. You could go on YouTube. It's also here on Facebook, and have them watch. There's some valuable information. We like to thank you for being with us today. We've got to have this man back.
All things relevant media.
All right.
Manny, thanks again for being with us. Guys, love us on Facebook, All Things Relevant Media. And on YouTube, what are we called? ATR. ATR what? Oh, y'all don't know. ATR what? You don't know?
ATR Media. All
Thank
things
you.
relevant.
Thank you. All Things Relevant Media. Black, right?
All right.
ATR.
And we got
all right. Well, anyway, guys, thank you. Just remember all of our bloopers today. All right, because it won't happen again. Thanks again, Manny.
All right.
Thanks, Manny.
Take care.